Hello, hello. Welcome to the session. Welcome to ELTea Time chat show. Coming, please. Good afternoon, good morning, maybe good evening for some teachers who are not based in Asia. So welcome to the ELTea Time chat show with Macmillan Education. Yes, let me know in the chat box where you are watching this session from.
The chat box is disabled.
Is disabled?
What it says on my screen.
Maybe Pelin, can you check with that? The chat box setting, maybe it's not set right. Yes, and
anyway,
yeah, welcome.
Anyway, super. Good afternoon from Bangkok. Lovely to see you again.
Glad to see you again. Welcome back to ELTea Time. And hello from Shanghai to everyone.
Hello. And it is true, chat box say chat disabled. I'm from Bangkok.
Okay. Yeah, I'm asking our colleague to check, double check on that.
It's disabled, cannot type.
Okay. Yes. Yeah. Okay, I see someone. Okay. Now it's working.
Yeah.
Great. And yeah, for those who are new to ELTea Time, let me have you just give you a very quick background information about what we're going to do. So this is the third episode for this season, and we have talked about digital teaching skills earlier. We have talked about global skills as well. And today we're going to focus on teaching skills. So coming back to the face-to-face classroom, I know a lot of teachers are going back to school very soon for the new term, new semester. So we're going to talk about games. So explore like the games you can use in the classroom. And in the 30-minute chat show, we're going to have our guest speaker together with Dell to swap like ideas and share our experiences on a variety of questions about their like go-to games and how they can like play these games in the classroom and how those games can help develop their teaching skills and also language learning as well. So grab a cup of tea if you have one, or a cup of coffee or any drinks. So join us in the discussion and also find out maybe you can have some ideas to share with us together. So in the chat box, feel free to join the chat. Yes, we have teachers from Beijing, from Thailand, and from Indonesia as well. So a big warm welcome to everyone. Thank you for coming today. Okay, now let me introduce our speakers today. So hi, Del, hi, Dan. Show your face, please.
There's my face. There's Dan's face.
Yes.
Good morning.
Good morning, good afternoon, and welcome to the ELTea chat show. So I'm going to give you a little bit more information about Dan, our guest speaker today, to let you know who he is. So he is a very experienced teacher, first of all, and he has taught in all levels and ages across Asia, across Europe as well. And he is also a very accomplished teacher trainer who's been training teachers like us. Yeah, and he has started like his teaching journey in a lot of places like Greece, Poland, Vienna, also in China, Thailand, and now he's back to the England. And he has also worked across a lot of contexts and played a lot of roles. So today I really look forward to Dan's like sharing of his best games in the classroom. Okay, and Dell is the regional professional development manager from Macmillan Education. Yeah, he is our old friend, right? So welcome, Dell, and yeah, please say hi to the audience.
Hi everybody. Hello, hi Dan.
Morning, hello, hi from the UK. Lovely to be here. Thank you for the opportunity to have an ELT chat with you all this morning. I'm very excited. It's very kind of you to invite me. Thanks a lot.
Well, we're very lucky to have you. Yeah, and thank you once again for giving up your time. We realize you are a very busy man. You've been doing lots of work teaching online, I believe, right?
Yeah, I'm based since I did work in the UK in a language school here in Scarborough, but of course the pandemic changed all of that and I switched over to purely online. A lot of the people who couldn't get to the UK but did need English for whatever reason got in touch with me, obviously, you know, electronically, and slowly but surely I've changed to being completely Zoom based.
Right.
So welcome to my office.
But yeah, it's a very nice office. Looks very nice. And just tell everybody where you are without telling everybody where you live. You're in a very beautiful place in the UK, right?
Yeah, the northeast of England. It's equidistant. It's 4 hours to London and 4 hours to Edinburgh. It's called Scarborough. And
Beautiful.
if you walk about 500 meters this way, the sea is there, North Bay. It's a seaside resort.
Beautiful.
If anybody knows where Derek lives, it's actually the opposite. Derek lives on the opposite side, also near the sea. But yeah, I'm very lucky. I live in a little 60,000 people. The population is 60,000 people. And there's a castle and 2 bays, lots of fresh air. It's very green. It's a very nice part of the world.
Yeah.
My daughter was born here and she doesn't realize what a lucky, she's 15. My daughter, she doesn't realize what a lucky girl she is to grow up in such a nice environment.
She will do when she's older, I'm sure.
She will do, yeah.
Okay.
Great. So before I kick off the chat, I just want to share this this agenda with you very quickly. So now today we have 4 questions to guide us, but definitely we can talk about more if we have time. So the topic is about teaching skills, has the focus on games in the English classroom. So we're going to talk about what constitutes a game in language teaching, why should we use games, and when should we use them, and the best 3 go-to games from Dell and from Dan, definitely. Okay, so with this agenda to guide us, shall we kick off very quickly from the first question? So what constitutes a game in language teaching? What's the difference between like a normal game and a game in the English classroom? So starting maybe from our guest speaker first, Dan.
Well, I love dictionaries, so I looked up what a game is, just to be so we're all on the same page. An activity one engages in for fun. So I think a game, the key word maybe is fun or amusement, and hopefully there's a contrast, I guess, in our lesson between, in inverted commas, the hard work and then the game, not necessarily in that order. We could start with a game, but I think there's the idea of we've done the grammar, you know, in a traditional language learning environment, we've done the hard work. Ooh, now we're going to play a game. Yay! It's that kind of contrast, I think, is the general idea. The hard work is quite serious. We're probably quite quiet. We've got our heads down, maybe working with a partner, but then the game, the volume increases, people lean back in their chair and smiles, a sea of smiles.
Yeah.
I guess that in basically that's what a game is. Right, Del?
Yeah, I think I definitely agree with you. And certainly I didn't look in the dictionary for mine. I kind of thought about it from the games that I've played in so many years of teaching. And I said it's an activity that induces fun So I use that word fun though, and has an element of competition between participants in groups or in pairs. And I also said that I kind of then looked at ELT and I said that a game needs to have some element of language practice involved. But the purpose of the language could be two ways. So it could be to practice that language or to use the language to win a game. So the game could be there to develop language, or it could be there to activate that language to then play a game at the same time. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I thought, go on.
The game could reinforce what has just been taught or what was taught in the last lesson, but also the game could be, for example, okay, you've finished your exam. There is no, obviously the game is in the target language, but there is no specific present perfect focus. It's just, let's all relax and play a game. And like Stop the Bus, for example, the classic Stop the Bus game, which is just a very general English language game without a specific target.
Yeah, I think also, like, I guess maybe my example wasn't too clear. I was thinking, so if you're using Stop the Bus, then you do need the language and you can review the language that you've taught for that. And I guess if you're then playing something like Monopoly, for example, you could play that in a language classroom, but also teach language that you need to play that game, the process language, and then obviously the language within the game itself. So there's kind of two different looking at it from two different angles, I suppose.
Yes,
no, you're right.
I think
you're right.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, one game maybe is for some general fun and happy time, but the other strand of games are more dedicated to language learning and the practice of what's learned. Yes, and also as Dan just mentioned, so there is a contrast of the hard work and the like a fun part of a game. So sometimes there are different opinions towards, shall we play games? Is it right to play games? Does game really like help with our teaching? So why shall we use games? Is it really helpful? Del, maybe?
Good question.
Well, absolutely. I mean, the fact that there are so many resources dedicated to games, and particularly in the EFL classroom, there's Mario Rimvolucri wrote 2 books on grammar games and more grammar games, just to name one. But I mean, so many resources. I think they definitely should use them. They provide language practice, which we've mentioned. They provide practice of the skills, depending on the kind of game that you're playing, and you can adapt them for pretty much any skill that you might be trying to develop. Encourage students to interact, to communicate, to work together. They provide a context sometimes for learning, and they also they create a great atmosphere in the classroom. As Dan said, lots of smiley, lovely faces, and people are happy and feel like they're learning at the same time. Then I think that would be one of the main reasons why we should use games. Dan?
Also as well, I think that our job as a class teacher is to create an environment conducive for learning, an environment where our students are able to learn. And the more relaxed and the more comfortable they feel, evidence, science, data backs this. But we only need to think, for example, let's say you've got a class at 11 o'clock to 12 o'clock, and at 1 o'clock you've got the dentist. You're probably not going to learn very much that day because your mind is somewhere else. And it's games that help our students to feel confident, to feel relaxed, to feel kind of like loved and supported and cared for and part of the group and part of the team. And that's when students will learn because their minds are open. There's a name for a filter. I can't remember the name, but your filter goes down and you feel relaxed. What is it, Del?
The affective filter.
That might be it. Yeah. And so what a game does it not only relaxes you in that moment, it also means the next lesson you learn grammar more effectively because you're relaxed because you played the game last time.
Yeah, absolutely.
It affects the whole thing.
Completely
I
agree.
totally agree. Yeah. And I think the expectations for English teachers for being fun and being interactive, the English classes is different from maybe a math class. Yeah, because we probably can work on math individually. But for language teaching and learning, we definitely need to engage learners like doing conversations, communications, yeah, with each other. So that's where maybe games can play a great role as well. So the next question is really very practical because we
Hang on,
can't
Super.
play games.
Just
Yeah.
sorry, Super. I just wanted to add to what Dan had said about the why, and I think what you mentioned about that. I think you touched on creating like putting, particularly maybe younger learners and teenagers into teams and having them work together to win a game and to be part of the group and part of the team. I mean, these are 21st century skills that we're talking about. Collaboration, communication. Obviously, if the game requires some creativity or critical thinking, then you can match them all together. And this is a real life way of putting those 21st century skills that we see all the time into actual practice. Bringing on the weaker student, putting them in groups so that everyone's helping each other and everyone gets a chance to deliver something to be part of the team and part of the game. All fantastic reasons for playing games. Sorry, keep going.
Yes, I agree. And then let us know when shall we play games, because sometimes games can be a little bit noisy, can be a little bit like crazy to manage. So it is very critical to plan the games like carefully. So maybe some experience from your long experience of in the classroom, then any ideas of when?
Yeah, thank you. I think firstly, it's really important not to just play a game because you want to play a game. You need to play a game for a specific reason. And I think particularly as a new teacher, as an inexperienced teacher, maybe a game becomes just part of your lesson. Why are you playing a game? Because that's what I do. That I don't think that's justification enough. We need a reason for everything we do in the classroom. And so first and foremost, we play a game when a game is needed, not just because it's game time. I would imagine that if you have, for example, a 60-minute lesson and the last 20 minutes is always a game, the students will become really bored. It's, oh God, it's a game again. A game becomes as boring as everything else if we just repeat and repeat and repeat. So I think that the important thing is, this is true for everything in the classroom. We need a reason to do it. I mean, sometimes the reason is it's on the curriculum. We have no choice, but we need as far as we possibly can to be able to justify what we're doing. The students know if we're doing something that's pointless. They know very quickly. So I'm not directly answering your question, but the time to play a game is when it's really time to play a game, not just because you've run out of ideas and there's nothing else left to do. So, oh, I know, we'll play the game. There's less value in that. And as I say, students are incredibly fast to realize that he's only playing the game because he forgot the YouTube video.
Yeah.
So we need to be very careful with games. We need to, although a game is fun, we need to take it as seriously as any other activity. Prepare properly for it. It's a game for the students. It's not a game for us. It's part of our teaching arsenal, our teaching toolkit. But the time to play a game is when it's time to play a game, if that makes sense.
Yeah. That makes total sense. And so going back to that, there's a tagline on one of our books. It's, we know, they think they're playing, we know they are learning. And I think that's that kind of like when to play a game is it kind of talks about that, the reason of playing a game, having I'm going to use this word that in a previous job, this question was always asked. I think someone was observed once and got asked this question too many times. So it became kind of like a bit of a punchline, but it was actually a very good question. And it was always, what are the underlying principles for that? So somebody would come up with a good activity in the teacher's room and someone would jump in with, what are the underlying principles? And then you had to justify why you were doing it, right? So with a game, if that should be a question that you are asking, actually, why are we playing this game? So now there might be, I guess I'm going back to the last question, it might be to practice language, but it also might be, as you said, at the end of an exam, we've finished our exams and now we're going to play some games. So I guess that kind of comes up to when we should use them. As Dan said, when they're needed, but you can use them for rewards as well. I think I often use them with my students, particularly in the institution that me and Dan both worked together at the same time. I had seen a college, a boys' college in central Bangkok. They needed some incentive, they needed some reward, and often those rewards were through games. So we would, I would definitely say to them, if we can get through this and we get our hard work done, as Dan mentioned, then there will be a game at the end. And that seemed to work as a bit of a carrot and stick incentive, or a carrot incentive, not a stick.
Yes, we really need to think about, why. I think this justifies, like, when we plan our lessons, we want to know like what the objectives are for this lesson and how we can achieve that through a game. So this really makes sure the game is going to work as well, I think, by figuring out what's the reason behind this game. Okay, now could you please give us some like of your best loved games in the previous teaching like years from your experience? Maybe name 3 best go-to games in your teaching life. Shall we start from Dan?
Yeah, one game that Derek and I both used to play, it did get incredibly noisy, was that it was called, I think, like Board Rush. And so with younger learners, they would all sit in rows in front of the whiteboard neatly. If they weren't neat, they lost points for their team. Yeah. So they used to sit very nicely, straight backs and folded arms. And if anybody unfolded their arms, we rubbed a point off the whiteboard. But basically, all this is, for example, you say win, the word win. Mm-hmm. And the 4 rows of students, the ones who are at the front, they go to the board and they write 1, infinitive, past simple. Then they write it as fast as they can, go and sit at the back, everybody shuffles forward, and when the team is once again sitting like little angels, the fastest team get the point. It must be written legibly. You must be able to read the word. And the school that Derek mentioned, I think our students were from age 11 to 14, Del, were they? Maybe, they were, And they needed to stretch their legs a little bit after, at that age and that amount of energy and testosterone. It was great for them to. They did slam into the board at approximately 40 miles an hour. And it did get a little bit crazy, but the power of points, we shouldn't underestimate the power of points. If you say, look, if you hit the board noisily, you lose a point for your team, it changes everything. So my first game is called Board Rush. You have a list of all the 3 columns: come, came, come, begin, began, begun. You say the first one, they go to the board quickly and quietly, write the past participle or whatever it is, go to the back and win points. And that's it. Does that make sense, Super? Is that easy enough to?
Yes, like rush to the blackboard and write for grammar. Yes. And maybe passing over to Del, what's your one of your?
I have a vocabulary game, actually, and it is a very hope people don't know about it, but I'm sure that it's called Taboo. But I love this game. This is where you have to describe a word without saying some keywords. So, for example, say if you have to describe the word doctor, you're not allowed to say the word sick. You're not allowed to say the word hospital. You're not allowed to say the word medicine. And then you have to describe the word to the class. And I like it because you can use it obviously at different lexical sets if it's jobs. It's very easy to prepare in terms of the time that it takes. It develops the vocabulary, but more importantly, it develops the communication skills. So students have to really negotiate language and come up with other ways, other strategies to get meaning across, which I think is great because that has like real world application. And it's a pretty fun game as well, and they can get excited and shout out the words, and obviously again you can give points. Games are always great with points, so that would be my first game.
Yeah, can you put the name of the game to the chat box, Del, while
Taboo. It's called Taboo.
Yes, thank you.
It's kind of similar to Back to the Board, isn't it? It's a little bit similar to Back to the Board, where you've got a word and you're trying to explain the word, and Back to the Board is another one. However, my second one, I like this because we have a lot of getting to know you games. I think they're quite common. This is a how well do you know your friends game. So it's after kind of like 6 months. So it's kind of nice because it's have you actually been paying attention to the other people? Okay, listen carefully. So what you need is about 8 second conditional sentences. For example, if I could have any drink right now, I would have. Or if I could have any pet in the world, I would have. Or if I could go on holiday anywhere in the world, I would go too. Underneath all of these sentences, there's ABC. ABC, ABC. So sentence ABC, sentence ABC. You cut these sentences up and you hand them out to the students. The students fill them in with the true answer and 2 false answers. So me, for example, if I could work for any book company, I'd work for A, Cambridge, B, Macmillan, or C, Oxford. And I say, okay, then, Dan, you read your sentence. If I could, and everybody listens to me read my sentence. And 1 of them is true and 2 of them are false. And of course, the students all write down, oh, I think you'll go for C, or I think you'll go for B. What's nice is there's a little bit of writing in the game. There's a little bit of reading, there's listening, and there's speaking. It's also nice as well because someone, oh, I know. She said she wants to go to Portugal. I know the answer to this. So it's a really, really fun game, creates a really nice atmosphere. Also, it's a very quiet game because you have to listen to each other.
Carefully.
You have to listen. As a teacher, you need to make a note. Question number 1 was Del. Del was the one about fruit. It was orange, apple, banana. And you need to keep a record yourself. What I would do is all the questions first, then all the answers at the end is the way that I would do this. Nice. And at the end, people normally, the very, very attentive people get about 50% of them right. 50% is like 6 out of 10 is a pretty high success rate for this activity. That activity is called, unfortunately, it's got a long name. It's called How Well Do You Know Your Classmates?
And
cool.
I think
does that make sense?
Yeah. Brilliant. Yeah.
And I just thought an idea that you can practice second conditional, you can practice like present continuous, you can practice any grammar structures, right?
Yeah. The great thing about this is every single student is going to say a perfectly correct second conditional sentence because it's written on their piece of paper. So there is going to be accuracy in there. Yeah.
Cool. My next game is called What Are You Doing? All right. And it's a grammar game. You can adapt it for different grammar points, but it worked really good with present continuous. And I learned this on doing a Nile course on drama games. Actually, it was really fun course. So basically, what you do, you have students standing in a circle, and the first person starts to mime an activity. The person to his or her left will then say, "What are you doing?" And the person who is miming the activity will keep on miming the activity, but say the name of a different activity. Okay, so the person will start miming. Maybe they're miming, so I'm miming. So Dan, you will say, "What are you doing?"
Walking.
No, you say,
Mashing
"What are you
potatoes.
doing?" Ask
Oh,
the
sorry,
question.
sorry. What are you doing?
And I would say a different activity. So I would say, "I'm laughing." Okay. And then the next person
Oh.
would immediately start laughing. Okay. But the next person along the line would ask, "What are you doing?" to you, Dan. And you would say something different to "I'm laughing."
What you're doing.
You would then continue to laugh, and they would do what you would say. So it kind of passes it down. It takes a little bit of practice, so you need to model it with the students first. But it's really fun because it gets them thinking. There's a little bit of thinking skills going on, and obviously lots and lots of grammar practice as well. So I definitely recommend "What are you doing?" for the condition for the present continuous sentences.
Nice. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Yes.
And my last one, I'm going to write it in the chat because I taught for 10 years here in my town. I taught teachers how to teach with technology. That's a lot of T's. So my last one is like, I think we all know Kahoot, maybe Socratic and quizzes. But there's also, it's now beginning to get popular. For a long time, it was unknown, and I don't know why, because it's really, really effective. The great thing about this technology game is you don't need much technology. You don't need everybody with a really fast connection. Plickers. Do we know Plickers?
Yeah, I've heard of it. Yeah. But fill us in.
Well, the lovely thing about Plickers is basically every student has a piece of paper, and the piece of paper acts like a QR code. So your phone can read their piece of paper. So my QR code is on, it's not, but it's on here. Say, oh, hold on, I'll get this. As I turn this is answer A, answer B, answer C, and answer D. As you move the QR code, the shape on the piece of paper changes, and it gives a different answer to the teacher's phone. So what happens is the students really feel connected to technology, but the only one who needs an internet connection is you on your phone, because you're reading their pieces of paper. It's a multiple choice game like Kahoot, A, B, C, D, or true and false, A, B.
Yeah.
The beautiful thing about it is you're not real. The problem with Kahoot is if Super's connection is not as good as Derek's connection, Super will quite rightly either start crying or get quite violent.
Yes.
Both of which are understandable reactions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But with Plickers, if your phone doesn't work, then it just doesn't work. And if your phone does work, then it works. So I can't explain everything about Plickers right now, but it's really, really, really worth investigating because, dear teachers, it is technology, but it's only your connection that's important.
Definitely.
You need your phone, and that's it. Amazing.
Okay, I'll definitely look into that. My last one is a very, very, very simple game, but one which I have used for pretty much all my teaching life. It's called Noughts and Crosses. You may know it as tic-tac-toe, and it's a really wonderful game for comparatives, mainly, but you can use it pretty much for anything, but really great for comparatives. So what you have is you have a tic-tac-toe grid or a noughts and crosses grid, nine squares, and you have to fill those squares with vocabulary. So often in primary course books, for example, you'll have the vocabulary of animals mixed with the grammatical point of comparatives. So basically you need 9 animals, and you would slowly reveal the animals and play a game that way to guess what the animal is. Students would guess it, and then you stick the animal in the grid. Okay, so you do that with 9 animals, so you've got a grid full of 9 animals, and then you play noughts and crosses or tic-tac-toe. And in order to put a circle or a cross in a square, you have to give me a comparative sentence that is true. So you would have maybe a butterfly in one corner, another animal in the anywhere else. You want to get the butterfly square, so you would say the butterfly is more beautiful than the scorpion. And the teacher would say, yeah, that's a good sentence, and it's true, you believe that, that's fine, and you give them, and so on and so forth, until you have played tic-tac-toe. They must be correct and they must be true, otherwise they don't get a square. And I love this, again, because it just works. It's worked every single time. Students get excited. There's a bit of competition. And lots of language practiced. So that's me.
And
Yes.
just to add about, we call it noughts and crosses. I believe in Sweden it's called tramp chess, which is quite a cute name.
Really?
Just
Well, I
to
didn't know
add,
that.
yeah, tramp chess. I have played this very childlike game with native speakers. We had famous quotations in the 9 spaces, and their groups had to try to match who said the quotation. I think there's the tendency, a potential to think, well, that's a game for babies. Not necessarily.
No.
It depends what material we put into the game. So I wouldn't dismiss a game, well, this is very childish. Well, if you play it with just colors, it is childish.
Yeah,
if you play it with chemical equations.
Yeah,
it's
it's a
not
bit
so
much, but yeah, I mean, and I think just to finish on that, I mean, there's loads of games, aren't there, that we play that you can adapt for language teaching. Pretty much any game that you played in the schoolyard can be adapted for language teaching, and often those games are actually there to develop language or some soft skills, as you mentioned earlier, Dan. So yeah, I mean, have a go, adapt things, use them in different ways, and have fun with your students. That's all I would say. Make sure you're using games.
Yes. So thank you very much for Dan and Del for sharing their 3 best go-to games. And I believe there are a lot more, yeah, you can explore and put into your lesson plans and have fun with your students. So thank you very much for Dan and Del being here today. And thank you for all your time to participate, yeah, into the ELTea time. So I wish to see you next month very soon. So some closing comment from Dan and Del. Anything you would like to say to the teachers?
I would like to say something to Dan. Dan, again, once more, thank you so much for your time. I know you're a very busy man, so we really, really do appreciate it. Thank you, everybody, for attending, and we'll see you again next month. Thank you so much. Dan?
I would like to say thank you very much for inviting me, and games can become a really important part of what we do as teachers. Practice makes perfect. If it doesn't work, don't worry, you know, there's always tomorrow, and you'll find the right game for you over time. So just experiment and practice, and Rome wasn't built in a day.
Definitely not.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you,
Nice to meet you
Super.
all. Thank you.
Thank you, Palin, for organizing, and thank you, Super, for hosting. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Have a good night. Have a good day. Bye-bye.
See you. Bye.
See you.